Five. Showtime.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to From the Chair. Uh, Tonight we have uh, Mr. Sean O'Reilly from SXPW. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Doing good. It's a little rainy and cold, but I'm doing all right.
That's kind of funny. We live in Washington, and it's actually sun shining here, which usually doesn't happen.
Yeah, it was sunshiny for a couple of days, and then it started snowing today and got cold.
Ooh.
I don't know how that worked, but it worked.
Hey, as long as you can still put on the shows, right? It doesn't matter what the weather's like.
Exactly, as long as it's inside.
Yep. So, we're getting started with some of the questions. And do you want to tell us a little bit about the show you're at right now before we get into it, or that you're
Well,
doing tonight?
I'm here in Denver, Colorado at RIP. It's a big show. You got two different tournaments, one for the tag team titles and then one for the heavyweight title for the first time ever. So that's going to be interesting. And makes for a very long night.
I would imagine. We said before we got on really quick that we did that I used to book a little bit of shows for our training school, and the first show I booked, the guy bought himself a United States title belt, and that night I had to book a 32-man tournament.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, that was not easy.
No, not that. That makes it for a really long night.
So
That's a start 3 hours before showtime actually starts.
no, I had like 5 minutes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I didn't find out till I got to the arena or to the building.
Darn.
Yeah. So, our first question is, how was SXPW formed?
How was it formed? My late great Donnie York Jr., who happens to be my father-in-law, formed it years ago for people like me that were injured and came off of injury, and no other company wanted to take a second chance because of their injury. So he formed it to pretty much give workers a second chance that were on the injury list that came off.
That is a very cool reason to start a promotion.
Yep, and I'm carrying it in his honor, making sure that the company runs good. We're based out of Florida, and then moved up to Cheyenne, and now Cheyenne's going to be the first territory.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
How was the transition from entertainer to owner?
It was rough. I'll tell you that, because I'm still learning with booking, and I was broken in on the old school new school line, but trained more old school, so it's more storytelling and trying to make stuff make sense and create big angles, and it's rough, especially when you're an entertainer yourself, but you're also the owner and booker as well too.
Can you tell us about your talent and who are your champions?
We don't have any champions now. As far as talent goes, it's more of the Colorado guys that I met when I first moved up here and started working up here. June of last year. Most of my talent people are down in Florida, where we're based out of.
Got ya. There is one tag team I want to ask about really quick before I forget.
Okay.
I saw them on a video, and it was the Pillars of Pain.
Pillars of Destiny or Destiny. Yeah, Destiny.
They look like a nasty tag team.
Oh, they are. I've seen them work a couple of times since being up here. Talented guys, that have the passion for this business and love what they do. But man, they look like they look like they can clean your clock if you crossed them the wrong way in the ring.
Definitely. And we want to give a shout out to one of their opponents because we interviewed him on this podcast also, which is the final boss, Bruce Wayans.
Yep, I'm actually on the same card as him tonight.
Nice.
Who are some of your up and coming stars?
If we're talking about where we start when I took over in Florida, you have Dashing Cam. You have his partner Bobby, which are also a tag team of mine called Kiss It. They mainly work down in Florida. They're upcoming tag team in the tag team division down there. There's another worker that I'm very good friends with, his dad, who's also called, his name is Puerto Rican Hound Dog. His son Damien is coming up, and very talented young star that I see going a long ways. I mean, there's a list that I can give you, but I don't think we got time for that long list of people that I can name.
Fair enough. Can you tell us about like maybe a specialty match that would that sets SXPW apart?
We're more old school. So we've done like I did back in November, about a year and a half, 2 years ago almost. We did a steel cage death match, which you can see on our YouTube page for our November show. I mean that was a brutal match that I've ever been a part of. I mean, we incorporate the hardcore style, but more strong style, along with the new school style and luchador style. It's just depending on who I can get on the card.
Could you tell us? Sorry. Could you tell us about the biggest rivalry in your company today?
Which would be me versus Draven Blaze. That lasted a full year. It was a full year rivalry between me and him.
That's pretty impressive to keep people enthralled in a rivalry for that long.
It took a lot of brainstorming and thinking on how to make this rivalry continue for a full year. And the big blow off was August of last year was our blow off angle with me and him.
Deputies found him hiding in the apartment and took him back to jail.
What is the best match that your company's done to date, and who were the wrestlers involved?
Oh, now see, now you're giving me a list here. I would have to say when it was me and my team, which consisted of Kiss It, the Puerto Rican Hound Dog, and Cliff versus my wife's team that consisted of Reilly Daniels, Dax the Axe, and two other competitors in a War Games match at our 1 year anniversary show last year in August down in Florida.
Ooh.
Hence why I now have the company, because even though my team lost, the wife had to take some time off due to mental or health issues, and so she didn't apparently read the fine print, where if health issues came into play, I automatically resume ownership of the company.
Gotta love the fine print.
Yep. Apparently she doesn't know how to read that.
What is the best gimmick match you have done to date?
The what match?
Gimmick.
That would be the death match steel cage match of November of 2 years ago, where we had light tubes, we had barbed wire, we had we had tables that had tack strips for carpet padding on top of it. We had 150,000 thumbtacks. We had bottle caps. We had the adult snapper poppers that you get for the 4th of July that you throw on the ground. Kendo sticks wrapped in barbed wire. We had a wiffle ball bat with mouse traps on it. So anything you could think of, we threw in there except for the kitchen sink.
And I'm
And
pretty
that's
sure if you would have gotten one of those, you would have thrown that in too. It sounds like.
if it was breakable.
So before we get to the next question, I'd like to say thank you to our first sponsor, which is the CARE program, which stands for Community Action Reaching Everybody. To get a hold of them, you can get a hold of Becky Bernhardt on Facebook. And then, how did the company choose their best teams and wrestlers? Well, you said there's no champions, but so let's word it this way.
I
How
don't
do they?
believe in titles. I don't.
Oh, okay.
If you can't get yourself over as a worker and you need a title, then then we need to reevaluate you. It's just a prop to me. Eventually we'll get some, so we have stable champions. Just for craps and giggles. But that might not happen until in the near future. That will probably happen, but as of right now, it won't. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you on your question. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You answered it. That was a perfect answer, so you're good.
Oh,
What advice would you give a person wanting to become a professional wrestler?
advice that I would give somebody that's wanting to be a professional wrestler. Oh, let's see here. The same advice that was instilled to me. Go to a wrestling school, professional wrestling school, and you sit there, you keep your mouth shut, and you keep your ears open. And you sit there and pick the brain of every single vet that's been in longer than you.
Okay, so have you
you
guys
still there, Nate?
done any? Huh?
Nate?
I'm still here.
Nathan?
I'm still here.
We lost audio.
Sorry about this. I'm still here.
What am I?
Can you guys hear me?
I
I can hear you.
Yeah, I think it's just on my executive producer's end. So have you guys thought about doing like any pay-per-views or anything? I know you're on YouTube, but
We're in talks with Fight TV, trying to come up with a plan with them. So that way, when we do have a big show, we can forecast it on through them. So that's in the works. It's just a matter of what they're wanting in return.
completely understand.
Looks like it's going to snow again.
My favorite snack is a cookie. What is your favorite cookie or snack?
My favorite snack are Thin Mints from the Girl Scout cookies,
Ooh, nice choice.
but they got to be frozen.
Ooh.
Frozen cookies. Gotta love it.
You do. So
You
I
know,
noticed
Go
on your
ahead.
wire for the 22nd, you have Chris Adonis.
Yes,
Uh,
we do. We have Chris. That took a lot of negotiating, but we finally came to terms with it. He'll be out here. We also have a guy named Manny Lemons, King of the Lemonade Stand, who was with Impact briefly back in 2021. Also on the card, coming from where I actually broke in at in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Very nice.
I'm trying to.
So we know about your gimmick matches. Uh, Could you tell us a little bit about your women's division?
That we're still working on that one up here in the Colorado, Wyoming area. Down in Florida, we had a few women's matches. So we're looking for them. If you guys interview anybody that's a female worker, you could tell them to get a hold of us on the SXPW page. We're always looking for workers and new talent that's coming up.
Well,
Side
we do
note-
have a couple of them coming up. You want to tell them that, Tony? Or
We have SOS coming up on the 29th. She's the current is it Renegade?
Motivate?
Oh, Motivate women's champion.
That's not in the South, ain't it?
Yes, I believe
That's,
so.
yeah, Texas.
I've heard of the company, and her name sounds familiar.
And then the other one we have coming up shortly is Scarlet, the Queen of Hearts, Rose.
Okay.
And then Miss Pandemonium.
It's Pandemonium.
She
Yeah.
wrestles out of Colorado Springs Wrestling.
Okay. I know who you're talking about. I've heard of her through the Denver area.
And then if you can book her, another good worker is Gypsy Mac.
Yep, I wrestled with her. I not wrestled with her, but I was on the same show with her last month at Battleground Championship Wrestling in Greeley, Colorado. Because she trains and works with Gino down there in New Mexico.
Oh.
Oh
I do believe, if I'm not mistaken.
no, I think you're right.
I think you're right.
Okay, so from a promoter standpoint, do you ever struggle to come up with ideas?
Here and there, but that's why I got my my ring general, my brother in arm, the one that I know has always had my back since I first met him down in Florida. Always there if I have questions or if I'm stuck on something. He's always there to help me out. He's my head of security for my company. He's been involved in the wrestling business since '05, putting up rings. So, I mean, when I do get stuck in stuff like that, I ask him, and he's normally right there to help me solve it.
I can't imagine how passionate the people are at NASA, but especially at Amesbury.
What was your favorite match growing up as a wrestling fan?
Oh, that's easy. That's Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero back in WCW.
Oh, beautiful choice. Halloween Havoc 1997.
Yep. And if we're talking about WWE, it would be fudge monkeys. That would be Stone Cold and Bret Hart, or Stone Cold and The Rock.
What are your choices?
Extremely good choices.
Those are the type of people that got me into wrestling, along with Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero. So growing up, I had a lot of good influencers that helped to help me get into something that I love doing now and have had a passion for it for July 31st of this year will be 14 years in this business.
Wow, congratulations on that.
Well, I appreciate it.
So before we go to our next question, I want to say thank you to our second sponsor, which is Bruce Nichols Painting. For all your painting needs, you can contact him on Facebook for pressure washing and lead removal also. So what's your future goals for SXPW?
Oh, to sell out every time we do a show.
I love that answer.
That is my main goal.
What would be the dream card as a promoter to present to your fans?
That is a good question, and to be honest with you, I don't have a dream card. My only dream is to make sure that every show that we put on every month, once a month, is a good show, and the fans leave talking about it until the next show. Is the dream that I have. I don't really have a dream card match. Never really thought about a dream card match. So the answer that I can only give to you on that would be to pretty much sell out every time, make the crowd happy, and make them leave talking about the show until the next one.
In your opinion, what's one thing you would change about the wrestling business today?
The drama and the politics. I've seen it in too many locker rooms that I've been a part of people not being happy on where they're at on the card or what they're doing, and then they just complain and they try to politic it in a different way, and that's just something that when I broke in, wasn't a thing.
You'd be surprised how many interviews we've done where that's the same answer. So apparently it happens quite a bit.
You must be talking to a lot of old school workers or workers that were trained in the old school ways.
Yep.
Like when I broke in the locker room, we watched each other's backs, no matter if you were green or not. If you were new to the locker room, you were family. You were a brother. It was a brotherhood. We helped one another out, and we stayed that way.
Yep. And I can vouch for that because I've never been involved to the level that you are, but the little bit I was, it was like a family. So.
I'm not sold on that. That's why I'm not hitting this very hard. I mean, this work.
How did you get your start in professional wrestling?
Oh, that's a little tricky one because I was living in Ogden, Utah, working at a plant as a cook, and a coworker actually brought me to a show called UCW Zero out of Salt Lake City, Utah. Introduced me to the promoter and owner of the show, and we hit it off, and I started training the following week.
Wow.
And it actually had my same match the same year I broke in, which was in 2009, and had it at the Rocky Mountain Rumble.
That must have been one heck of a first match to be in a Battle Royal or a Royal Rumble type match.
Yeah, when you have 4 of the guys that train you grab each part of your body and throw you up in the air. You can actually find that match on YouTube. It's the Rocky Mountain Rumble 2009, UCW 0. I'm in white I think I'm in white. I'm either in white in golden tights or I was in my MMA outfit because I cage fought for 3.5 years before breaking in. Um, so it was one of those two outfits that I was in when I got tossed up in the air, and I think it was the white and gold tribal uh, tights, and I was known as Sean Reilly at first before I became O'Reilly.
So this isn't on our questions, but it popped into my head. So is there a big switch over from being like a cage fighter going into like professional wrestling?
It was different. I mean, training was a little bit easier than what we did for cage fighting as far as camp wise. Um, and so it wasn't that bad for me to transition. But I have heard that for a lot of cage fighters that have been doing it for a while, that transition from cage fight into wrestling had a hard time with it.
So what's your favorite wrestling actor? The Rock, The Miz, John Cena, or Batista, or other?
The Rock, hands down, one of the best people on the mic.
And then we don't have another sponsor to talk about, so go ahead with the next question, Pat.
What is your bloodiest match you've been involved in?
The match that I keep talking about, which would be the death match, steel cage match.
Actually, I'm going to back up for a minute because he would kill me if I didn't say this. We do have a sponsor. It's Big Money Dodge.
That's right, Mr. Nas. Big Money Dodge, the person that just bought your podcast from you.
Again, he cannot buy my podcast if I didn't see any money or any paperwork. And you will be seeing paperwork from my new attorney, Triple M.
Well, you and Triple M can go and talk to me and Mr. Big Money Dodge because I own the patent to this company and not you. Now back to your show.
Yes, but you really want
Sorry
to
for
take
that
Triple
impromptu
to court.
promo. All right, back to the show.
Who have been the biggest talents that you promoted, and have any of them made to the have any of them made it to the top 4 promotions?
As far as, are you talking about as far as workers that I've promoted?
Yeah.
The only major one that I got is or the two that I have is Manny Lemons and Chris. Are the only two that I've majorly have on my that I've had on my card that I've promoted.
Got.
Oh, and I can't forget Gino. I don't want Gino to curse me out next Saturday.
And he would probably do that too. So
He probably would.
Smart.
Alright, what is your favorite meal?
Oh, that's easy. That's shrimp lo mein.
Ooh. If you didn't become a wrestler, what would you be doing?
Either in the military or still being a cop.
Very interesting.
What was the best advice anyone has given you personally or professionally?
Sit there, keep your mouth shut and your ears open. It was the best advice anybody's ever given to me in my life.
Do you have a hard time watching wrestling as a fan without picking apart the match?
Yep, sure do. That's the crappy part is because I used to enjoy watching it. Now that I've actually been doing it for as long as I have a hard time watching it and enjoying it.
What is your favorite activity to do with your family when you're not wrestling?
Whatever my kids want to do. I leave that up to my kids. Whatever they want to do, I am okay doing.
That's a great answer. I'm getting in my own wrestling match with the questions. Okay. If you do, how do you help your talent choose their finisher or help them make a better gimmick?
I watch I watch their character that they first present me with, and after their match, we sit down and I critique them and telling them on what we can see, what we can do a little bit better as far as character wise, or finisher wise.
Which promoter is doing a better job now? Tony Khan, Triple H, or Court?
Ooh. See now. See, I like to be neutral in that infraction. So I think they're all doing great. But I'm going to stay neutral on this one.
Fair enough.
That's a very good answer. You never
Yeah,
know when you're going to have to.
Especially if I want to work for one of them one day.
Yeah. If your children wanted to follow in your footsteps to become a professional wrestler, would you be willing to train them?
Yes, in a heartbeat, I would.
If you had 4 pillars for your company, who would they be and why?
What do you mean by pillars?
Like
Like they have in AEW, like the 4 main the 4 main guys that would be in your company.
That would be Kiss It, Pillars, myself, and my buddy Draven Blaze.
Can you give us your top 5 tag teams of all time, like 5 to 1 or 1 to 5?
Oh, I don't really have a favorite tag team. I like all tag teams. I think tag team is a upcoming breed that I'm happy to see because it was dying off and now it's not.
So, when you wrestled, did you have a manager at all?
No, never had one. But I do have to cut this short, guys, because the show is getting ready to start, and I have to get in there and start getting ready. I do apologize.
No, you're fine.
I hope to come back one day so where we can have a little bit longer to talk.
Absolutely.
That sounds
anytime.
awesome.
So
We appreciate
y'all have a good day. I appreciate y'all for having me on the show, and like I said, I hope one day we can bring me back and we can talk more before I got to do a show.
Absolutely.
Awesome. You have a great show.
All right, y'all have a good afternoon.
you too.
You too.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, so we just heard from Mr. Sean O'Reilly, and we will have a part 2 definitely, probably sometime later in the year. Now, back to our regularly scheduled From the Chair podcast with your host, Pat Holt, and his co-host, Mr. Balding Head.
Well, I have more than a head, but as much as I have respect for Brillo Head over there, this is my show. This will always be my show, and this will always be my show.
Well, I could always
Regardless-
throw my swim cap on.
Regardless of what you,
Big Money Dodge just said that he needs a new host, and he wants to put Pat in charge.
well, quite frankly, unless Big Money Dodge starts showing me money other than Monopoly money that you would find at a kid's school, I don't really care what Big Money Dodge says. And as I said before, you will be seeing paperwork from my attorney, Triple M, unless you provide me with the paperwork that says he bought my podcast and some substantial money to go along with it.
I'm sorry, there's no money. It's already been spent on the new upgrades to the podcast.
Well, they can't upgrade the podcast because I'm perfect as I am. So, I think my executive producer might have finally hit his code of silence.
Okay, Mr. Balding Head, as you were.
Hey, when you got a head like this, I'm better than Mr. Clean, god damn it.
Well, at least we don't have a sugar mommy.
Hey, when you got it, you got it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as he was doing this interview with Mr. Again, thank you, Mr. Sean O'Reilly, for coming on, and have a great success on your match tonight. I and my host, Mr. Pat Holt, wish you nothing but the greatest success in your match tonight.
As do I, because I am the true and only host of this podcast.
Has anybody ever seen a talking forehead? I mean, really, we can't even see his eyes or his mouth. All we can see is a talking forehead.
Well, I mean, on Comedy Central, they had a talking sandwich. So, I mean, if they can do that, I guess we can do anything, right?
Yeah, if you say so.
Of course I say so. I'm always right.
Okay, but who's booked all the talent for this show?
Every squirrel gets a nut.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
Who's they, and why are they all saying it?
Moving on. Let's talk about tomorrow afternoon's show, and then I am going to break the world in on a huge, and I mean very huge, breaking news story that I, the executive producer with the most, who never says no to a challenge, just booked single-handedly on my way home from work, mind you, before this podcast started this evening.
You did it with only one hand? Wow, that's impressive. You know, being able to balance your phone and book a talent at the same time.
Yes, Mr. Noss, unlike you, Mr. Forehead, I am just too sweet.
Well, you know, that could lead to diabetes, so you might want to stop that. But so if you could book that with one hand, is that the same thing as like the chimp or the ape patting his head, rubbing his stomach at the same time?
It can be whatever notion you want it to be, Mr. Balding Forehead.
Hey, like I said, bald is beautiful.
I guess it depends on how you look at it.
So, you were going to bring up tomorrow?
I was waiting for you to announce your guest at 2:00 tomorrow afternoon.
We have Luchador Superstar Extraordinaire, Samurai Del, and I apologize if I mess up this name. I do not speak Spanish, so Benito. And that will be at 2:00 tomorrow afternoon, so a little bit earlier than normal.
And ladies and gentlemen, taking place tomorrow evening at 7:00 is Mr. Sean Kane. That name may sound familiar to some of you, but if not, let me tell you a little bit about his accolades. He wrote, produced, and directed Piper in his one-man show called Roderick Toombs on Roddy Piper One-Man Show. This guy made the Ultimate Deathmatch series. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. He wrote the Ultimate Deathmatch. And just to give you a little bit more information, the first Ultimate Deathmatch was actually filmed in our beautiful hometown of Longview, Washington. That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's the second biggest thing that came out of this area next to Court Carpenter.
I would say so, yes. And he's also wrote and directed movies like The Final Patriot and Zebro. They haven't even finished the credits on that movie yet. That's how new that is.
I have heard of The Final Patriot, though, and from everything I've heard and from people that have seen it, they said it was an outstanding movie.
So please tune in tomorrow night for a very special interview with Sean Kane. It could be about wrestling. It could be about his movies. It could be about anything. We don't know about this man. But it's going to be a great, great interview.
It could be about his experiences in Longview while filming the Ultimate Deathmatch.
There are so many open possibilities that this executive producer and the host, Mr. Pat, could talk about. I don't know if we're going to have Mr. Forehead in the interview or not.
Again, I'm sorry, and Pat, you know how much I love you, but I have to say this. I am not losing my hosting skills to some Brillo-haired man who looks like he's a reject from the Little Rascals.
Well, that's not very nice. That's not very nice to say about the host. You know what, Nosh? You're fired.
You can't fire me.
Who says I can? I'm the executive producer.
Yes, but I'm the owner of this podcast. Thank you very much. Yes, again, I know you think Big Money Dodge and all his fictitious money is going to buy my podcast, but again, I haven't seen anything. This could be Monopoly money or play money that he bought off of at the Goodwill, for all I know. Hell, at the Frontier, we use bingo bucks. Maybe he got it from here.
I can assure you it's bigger than bingo bucks.
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet.
All right, Mr. Forehead. Why don't you announce to the fans? Go ahead. Do it verbatim without your book. Go ahead. What's your next week What's your next week's schedule? The fans are dying to know. Let's see if you can get it right.
Well, if they're dying, they probably aren't watching the podcast, but I get your point. On the 16th, actually, yeah, on the 16th, which is Sunday, we have one of our Special Olympics confessional series, which is Wesley. who just recently, as of February, came back from the Jericho cruise. And is a self-professed wrestling encyclopedia. Although, if he's an encyclopedia and his name is Leslie, where's the rest of the letters? And then he's also supposed to be a 1960s wrestling expert and an expert of the Seattle wrestling scene. So, that should be interesting. To be fair, my executive producer has the calendar, but I will tell you the ones that I can remember off the top of my, as he called it, balding head. On the 23rd, we have legendary manager from the WCWC, Mr. Al Tubbs, who was also the manager of the hottest, figuratively and literally, faction in professional wrestling today, Hellbound.
You see, what would you do without me, Nos? Here, let me fill in where you left off. On the 16th, we have Wesley. On the 17th, we have Tony Flanagan, a referee on the East Coast. On the 18th, there is no show, but we might actually do just a filler just because we love our fans. On the 19th, at 6, well, I guess it got moved back to 7:30, is Rocky from Battleground Pro Wrestling. On the 20th is Mr. Isaiah Cooks. And on the 21st is a legendary referee, from what I understand, refereeing over 50 years of professional wrestling matches. Maybe he can referee the match between Big Money Dodge and Nathan for this company.
Well, he could, but the only problem is for Big Money Dodge to count to 3, he'd have to use both hands.
And that would be referee Youngblood. On the 22nd, I think our host Pat will be at Swim Regionals, and we wish him good luck on that. And Nathan's off doing whatever else he's doing. Who knows? Probably playing with his mommy.
I will be going to a very nice Chinese restaurant here in Longview.
Yeah, with his mommy. On the 23rd, as he was saying, he got that one right, and that was Mr. Al Tubbs. You know, he was legendary before Hellbound because he was in the WC, and
As I said,
probably the best manager even there. So,
man could sure pull off a bolo hat, I'll tell you that.
Then on the 24th, we've got a gentleman named Malcolm Plex. And the 25th, I think, is probably one of the most exciting luchadors in the country today. And no, ladies and gentlemen, it's not Rey Mysterio. I wish, but it's pretty close. I think he's one of the hottest indie luchadors. I've heard a lot of things from him on a few gentlemen that have been interviewed before, and that is Principal Leon.
Yes, we've heard quite a bit about him recently.
And then we have a gentleman on the 26th by the name of Ronnie Angel. And then Damian Knox on the 27th. And on 29th, we have our very first, ladies and gentlemen, our very first video media scrum for Combat Pro Wrestling right here in Washington State. Right here in Washington State. And that'll be at 5:30, immediately followed by our first female guest on this show. And Miss Tonette will be back with us, I believe, to join us for that interview.
Yes.
I can't wait. I can't wait to get Tonette back and bring some class back to this podcast, unlike Mr. Noss.
Which
You know.
class? Kindergarten, first grade, second grade, 10th grade?
I don't know. I think her and Pat would class up the joint a whole bunch. So
No, we don't. We don't have to give her a pat on the back. It's fine.
maybe I'll just let Pat and Tonette run that whole show and put Nathan in doggy timeout.
Woof.
But as I was saying, you know, she is the current, and I got it wrong earlier, and I'll probably get it wrong again, but I'm going to go for it. Motivate Pro Wrestling Women's Champion.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Well, of course we do, because I'm better than you, and you know it. Because at least they can see all this face, unlike that
who
balding
lost the
forehead.
audio during the interview?
Maybe I just got tired of hearing what you were saying.
Mm-hmm. See, this is how much this guy wants me on this podcast. If you remember back to the interview, he kept saying my name to get me back on the podcast when he lost his audio.
It's like I said. Maybe I just got tired of hearing, oh, it's all about me. It's my show.
It is my show. It's called From the Chair. You guys aren't in a chair. You're sitting on a couch, and I don't know what the hell Pat's sitting on.
A chair.
Yes,
And
but it's not a wheelchair.
And actually, to be honest, I'm actually in my nice, comfortable chair, too. So it could be about any one of us there, Mr. Balding Forehead.
And Nathan, I can fix that, too. I can pull out
You
my
can
dad's
fix the wheelchair?
Yeah, my mom and I still have my dad's wheelchair.
And technically, you can see more than my forehead. You can see my eyebrows.
So I'm going to do a little bit of a spoiler on Rampage here tonight, just because I'm actually watching it. And I know our illustrious host, Mr. Forehead, loves it when I do this. So coming soon, I didn't catch when the exact day was. You're going to have private party member, the one that's there now. I can't remember. I think it's Cass. No, Cassidy's hurt, so it's
It's Isaiah Cassidy. You were right.
So it's Isaiah Cassidy, and I forgot the other person that was involved. But ladies and gentlemen, they are going back to the Hardy compound.
Oh.
With the broken, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, I said the broken Hardys in the final deletion match with the Firm.
Ooh, nice.
I wonder if how'd they do that, because I thought Matt Hardy wasn't going to do that one unless Jeremy Borash was involved, and last I knew he was in WWE.
It was announced tonight on Rampage, final deletion of the Firm from the Hardy compound. Delete!
I understand that. Now, I'm not going to say anything bad about your Hardy impersonation, because I got reamed on the comments for that the last time. But my only question to this is this. Was that really a Matt Hardy impersonation, or were you going through puberty for a second time?
And ladies and gentlemen, you can read them again in the comments anytime you want. And Mr. Broken Matt, if you want to finally give an ultimate deletion match with him in the Hardy compound, I'd love to bring North Carolina for you.
And I would be right there.
I'll be the referee.
You could throw me into the lake of rejuvenation, and maybe I'll walk.
Or maybe he'll come back a baby.
Wah.
But anyways, that is our April schedule. We actually miss doing these impromptu little shows, but we've gotten really busy in the last very little bit. The first weekend in May is going to be really interesting. I believe that's the Red Rock Rumble. No, that's this weekend, isn't it?
Yes, the Red Rock Rumble is this Saturday. And I think
shout out to my girl, hopefully the winner, Miss Pandemonium.
That's what I was just gonna say. I think we're all voting for Pandemonium to win that one.
I hope she does win it.
So hopefully our girl, Miss Pandemonium, come and wins that match, because that's right, ladies and gentlemen. As of May 8th, Miss Pandemonium will be on our podcast, and it'll be what, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, I'm glad you guys asked. It'll be Pandemonium Day.
And she might be enough to intimidate Mr. Executive Producer there, so he can drop this fictitious act of buying my podcast.
I don't know. If Miss Pandemonium can bring us Miss Gypsy Mac, I may drop this whole entire lawsuit that we're going to bring against you for the said podcast.
Lawsuit on what grounds?
That all we can see is your balding head all the time, and we can't see your face anymore.
Well, it's either see my balding head and have a good internet connection, or make me sound like I'm on a test pattern for...
I vote test pattern.
I will stay neutral on that one.
Howard.
Smart man.
So you gonna finish our May schedule, or
Do you want me to finish our May schedule, Mr. I Know It All?
do you want to finish our May schedule? I would never dream. I would never dream of making you do something you didn't want to do.
Well, that's right, because I'm better than you, and you know it. But you know what?
Really? If you're better than me, and you know it, then who gets to the front of every line when there's a sporting event and stuff?
That's only because they feel sorry for you because you're in a wheelchair.
Who got the better seats at SmackDown?
Again, that's only because you're in a wheelchair.
Hey, you got to work the system.
And my seats weren't that bad either. But now you got me talking about a promotion that I never want to talk about again.
Really? Seems like you're talking about it a lot right now.
No, I didn't mention the three words that starts with a W. It only has a W in the middle. A-E-W, or a W at the end, that is. I mean.
And what words would those be?
AEW.
No, we did not go to AEW.
No, I went to AEW. You got
Yes,
COVID.
I know you went to AEW. Pat went to AEW. Tonette went to AEW.
And you had to stay home because you got COVID.
Yes.
And you missed the best show of your life. Because they put on such a better show than their... Well, I'm not even going to call them competitors because they're not even competitors anymore, in my opinion.
Our apologies to their competitors. Please do not sue us. And if you are going to sue us, please sue Mr. Anthony Wagner of Longview, Washington.
But notice I said competitors. I didn't say which competitors.
Oh, come on. If it's not AEW, I'm sure people can figure it out.
You never know. You know, fans are such humanoids anymore. You know.
See, I never understood that terminology. Would it be like half human, half robot?
You're whatever the Mr. Late Great Bobby the Brain Heenan wanted you to be.
Okay, that's a fair compare. I am not gonna argue with Bobby the Brain Heenan.
No, his words were, "Stick with me, I'll make you famous. Betray me, I'll bury you," or something to that fact.
So let's talk about Impact really quick because something interesting happened
Well,
this Thursday.
excuse me, Mr. Noss. I thought you wanted me to finish the May schedule. So now you're gonna take over the show yet again?
Well, you never said if you wanted to.
Without letting me finish the schedule? But
You
okay, that's
never
fine. That's
No,
fine,
no,
oh
no,
Mister.
no.
That's
No,
fine, Mr.
no, no,
Lord
no,
and
no,
Master.
no,
No, that's
no,
fine,
no.
Mr. Lord and
Now,
Master.
no.
That's fine, Mr. Lord and
No,
Master. Jeez.
no. Don't get your panties in a.
What happened?
He took himself out of the studio. Well, while my executive producer's having a hissy fit,
Which I'm not getting involved.
let's talk about Impact Wrestling.
And I'm back. Now, we will finish the May schedule. On May 1st, we have Chad Rico. On May 2nd, we have Blake Daniels. On May 3rd, we have Brittany Brooks and Chongo Bronson, which should be a really good interview. On May 4th, I'm going to give the boys a day off. On May 5th, we've got the referee, Mr. Bradley. On May 7th, I'd like to
dare
see
you take me up?
on May 7th, boys and girls, I want you to be quiet and let this man take the robe off for all those sexy ladies, Mr. Randy Rude. And the 8th, we all know what that day is. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to say it again because I'm very excited about this. It's Pandemonium Day. And the 9th, we have Brendan Turner. On the 10th, we've got Killian Crow. On the 11th, ladies and gentlemen, we have the new owner of this podcast, Mr. Big Money Dodge, on May 11th.
I'd like to tell.
And then on May 12th, we've got Cam Drexel. On May 14th, we've got Ray Swartek. And on May 15th, whoa, he left. Uh-oh. Well, I'm waiting for the host to come back. There he is. And he's back.
I'd like to tell you that I've been on the phone with my attorney, and the fact that you're eliminating me from my podcast means that we can now file a lawsuit against you.
Here, ladies and gentlemen. Let him try to figure out how to come back now. He can just sit there and look pretty. So, as I was saying, on the 15th, we have Miss Scarlet, the Queen of Hearts Rose. On the 16th, we've got a referee, Mr. Christopher Barrands. And then another very exciting double interview, the Madman of the Badlands. Mr. Host, are you back now? Can we hear you?
Yes, if you would stop muting my microphone, which is suppression of my civil rights of free speech. Thank you very much. I am very excited about all those interviews, but I will sue you so hard that the top part of your head will turn white. You'll look like Pepe Le Pew.
Really, I'd like to see you and Triple M try.
He said, "We'll see you in court."
And we lost him from the stream again. Well, now, moving on. On the 18th, we have Javier Cruz. On the 19th, we have Carrie Jean Brody. She's a fantastic women's wrestler out of the state of, is it Tennessee? Somewhere down in the south. I book so many shows I can't remember where they're all from. The host is supposed to go and do all the research for us, but
Well, as long as it's not as down south as Joey Ryan's Lollipop, I'm sure we'll be doing fine.
again, poor Gypsy for having to take that lollipop. Oh,
Yes.
thank you for our viewer that is joining us tonight.
Build our future.
On the 22nd, we've got Mr. Jordan Cruz. On the 23rd, we have a upstart promoter out of the state of Washington, Mr. Steve Dodge.
Very intrigued to have that man on. He seems to have some very cutting edge ideas.
Yes, it's going to be an honor to have that man on our podcast. The next day is a very, very special interview, one that our host wanted to get on this show, and I'm glad I could get it done for him. In all seriousness, you know, we play around and we joke around and we take each other off the screens because we want to have fun with you fans. But, you know, this was an honor for me to book this man for Mr. Nathan, and that is Mr. JD Moonshine.
Yes. One of the best professional wrestlers, and yes, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that right now in the Pacific Northwest.
But isn't that hypocritical when you call Hellbound the best faction in the Pacific Northwest? Aren't they?
Yes.
Aren't they wrestlers too?
Yes,
So
they are.
So how can they be the best, but JD Moonshine also be the best if they're all professional wrestlers out in the Northwest?
Because we have a lot of talent here in the Northwest, so there's multi-best talent wrestlers in the Northwest. But do you think we have? It's like the trees. You know, we have really good soil here. Instead of growing trees now, that we're growing pro wrestlers.
I can't argue with that. On the 26th, we've got another referee named Reggie Cassidy, and I think he's out of West Virginia or somewhere up in there. On the 27th, we've got our second, that's right, yes, ladies and gentlemen, second media scrum with CPW.
Shout out to Yvonne, the promoter of CPW, who is doing wonderful things.
On the 30th of May, probably another one of the hosts' most talked about and wanted interviews. And he's been brought up on this podcast a couple of times, in fact. I believe he had a feud with Mr. Deontay Ford. And that is Mr. Tyson Lee.
Yes.
And then the very next night on May 31st, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, we're booked solid through the month of May, April, and May. And to be quite honest, we're booked solid in the month of June, too. So But we have Mr. Slick Tyson Stone.
Very intriguing name, so I'm guessing the interview is just gonna be the same way.
And now back to our regularly scheduled boring programming with our host.
So, Impact, like I said before, had a very
Yeah, as you
interesting.
really interrupted me.
Oh, of course, I'm the host. That's what I do best because they want to hear my voice anyway.
Suit yourself.
No, I can't wear a suit. It doesn't sit right on my shoulders.
No, but that's right. But you have to wear a dress, though. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. He has to wear a dress.
Yes, I do, but damn it, I'm going to make that dress look good.
So she says.
Yeah, I will be saying that. So, as I was saying, Impact had a weird ending where Mickie James relinquished the Knockouts Championship and laid her head down in the ring. Now, typically, if somebody would like lay down their boots in professional wrestling, that would signify like their retirement. So my question to my co-host and my executive producer is: do you think that this means the end for Mickie James, or do you think she'll be back after her rib injury heals?
You know, I'm not 100% sure.
Mr. Executive Producer?
Oh, so you want my take now, huh?
Well,
All
you
right.
seem like you like to talk about everything anyway, so I might as well keep you involved in the podcast.
Okay. Well, then let me talk to you. Mickie James, by far, is one of the best female wrestlers of all time. Best. She's even better than that knobby little forehead on Mr. Nathan Noss's head.
Knobby little forehead. I could be a forehead model if I wanted to be. By the way, if there's any agents out there, I am taking bookings. Thank you very much.
But, as I was saying before I was so rudely, and I do mean rudely, interrupted.
Would that be ravishing rudely?
No, that would be ravishing Randy Rude. He will be with us on May 7th. And hopefully all of our female viewers will be on so he can take that robe off for all you lovely ladies.
All right, going back to your question, Nathan. I just did a little research on her injury, and it's more than a broken rib. She has a slight tear in her shoulder, too.
Okay, so it'll take a little bit longer for her to heal. But
yes.
In all fairness, my apologies, Tony. What is your opinion? Do you think she's leaving Impact or?
A wrestler never retires until they leave their boots in the ring. However, that being said, I think the hardcore country Mickie James gimmick is now dead.
Interesting. So what do you think? What do you think she debuts in?
Hopefully, the side of her that she was in the company that shall remain nameless on my lips when she went against Trish Stratus.
Oh, the Psycho fan gimmick.
I wouldn't mind that. I would more like to see her like she was in her first run with TNA with CM Punk and Raven when she was Lexa Sari. Did you guys also hear that Seth Rollins walked out of Raw on Monday?
Yep.
Yeah, but that's such old news that he's already said he's not going anywhere.
What?
What?
Otherwise, why would they put him in that #1 contenders match for Roman Reigns' title?
Well, I mean, that's true. But unfortunately, I can see a lot more people getting upset during a show and walking out as long as Vince McMahon's back in charge in any shape or form.
Well, yes, I can see that too. But I do think as long as that company that remains nameless, in my lips, of course, is going to go downhill as long as they have a certain person in charge and a certain champion for over 1,000 days.
And from that company, as I will show respect, as I always do, because I'm just that good, to my executive producer. And I will not mention that company, but I did want to get your guys' thoughts, at least the name, on the fact that they're changing the title of the Saudi Arabia pay-per-view from the King and Queen of the Ring to Night of Champions, with the sole purpose of celebrating Roman Reigns' 1,000th day as champion.
Again, a reason that the company will remain nameless is because, thank you, they just spoiled the next pay-per-view for us, telling us that Roman Reigns will yet again defeat whoever he goes against in said championship match. So thank you, unnamed company, for ruining yet another pay-per-view that you are starting to slowly lag behind the premier company, AEW.
I would agree that AEW is the premier company, but technically the other company didn't ruin Backlash when Roman Reigns isn't going to be on Backlash anyway.
When's the #1 contender match going to take place, Mr. Baldinghead?
The #1 contenders match is taking place at Backlash, but Roman Reigns isn't going to be on Backlash.
Okay, well, again, chicken shit move on the unnamed company's part, because why wouldn't you have your undisputed 1,000 day plus champion of the world show his face? Because Vince McMahon has a big yellow stripe down his back and doesn't want to see his golden boy get hurt.
But yet, the rest of the bloodline are going to be in a 6-man tag. I could see some little shenanigans in that match.
It's like I said, Mr. McMahon has his golden boy, and he has a yeller strip down that golden boy's back and down his back because he's scared shitless his golden boy's gonna get hurt. Boo fucking who?
But
So
I do look to see, like you both said, there's going to be one amazing debut return at Backlash to assist Cody against Brock.
let's talk about AEW. There's been a lot of talk in AEW lately about CM Punk coming back.
I have been hearing that a lot too.
And apparently there's plans in place for that to happen. And the quote unquote dream match that they want to have is FTR and CM Punk versus the Elite. Now, the problem I see in that is why would the Elite want to work with the guy that basically got them suspended?
Because it's their job, Nos.
I understand it's a job, but is CM Punk gonna do the job?
He's going to get up. He's going to lace his boots up. He's going to show up and he's going to fight. Why? Because that's what's in his contract. Do you not show up for work when you have to come and do your podcast?
Yes, but I don't.
And don't you and your executive producer have just as much heat as Punk and the Young Bucks and Omega have?
God, I hope not.
Very well. Okay, that's an adequate point. But however, it's their job.
Yes, but a job is to put on the best show you can, as Mr. O'Reilly brought up during our interview. Do you honestly have confidence in the fact that CM Punk is going to put on the best show he can and not put himself above the company?
CM Punk's the best in the world.
Maybe in his mind. I can name you 5 people on the AEW roster right now that are better than CM Punk is right now.
I can name you one person on the Independents is better than CM Punk is right now. So there.
Yes, I can too. And I think we're thinking of the same person.
Big props to Mr. Gino, I told you so.
Yes, and that's exactly who I was thinking of too.
Good luck tonight in your matches or wherever you're wrestling at.
And good luck Saturday.
I hope you bring home that 17-time world champion and beat the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Woo!
And that match will be on Saturday.
Now, I do see another debut if he comes back in AEW. And I know for a fact this person has an issue with Saraya.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Well, if you're thinking about Mercedes Moné,
Nope.
formerly
Nope. I'm not thinking about Mercedes.
Are you thinking about AJ Lee? She's retired, other than being the executive producer of WoW.
Yeah, but you gotta remember how she lost her title after that one particular year with the company we shall remain nameless. The next night.
But even CM Punk said that she will never wrestle again.
Yeah, she's doing her own thing and WoW of being one of the executive producers and doing commentary.
Yeah,
and a very good job, actually.
Yeah. Even Punk said she's done wrestling. She will never lace them up again.
Unless somehow Saraya calls her out.
Even then, I don't think she will not come back.
She might come back and probably be a mouthpiece, but
no.
But wrestle, no.
No, I don't even. I think she's content doing what she's doing now.
You know, I mean, she's good at what she's doing now. She doesn't need to be in the spotlight. She's.
And for those who haven't seeing WOW, which is Women in Wrestling, they're putting out some great matches. And you can find them on YouTube, by the way. Or certain CBS affiliates. Unfortunately, we don't get that affiliate in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of good stuff in the Pacific Northwest. I mean, I guess the only thing we're blessed with is great wrestling.
Yes. That said, I believe this might be a good place to stop. And we will see you tomorrow at 2:00.
Oh, so now you're dictating when we stop our podcast, huh?
Well, I am in charge. I mean, when you got a forehead like this, you got to control some power.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, on that happy note, please help control the pet population. Please have your hosts muzzled and neutered. Peace.
Piece of what?